What's going on, everybody, and welcome on into episode 235 of the Garage Beers podcast, brought to you proudly here on the OBR streaming network. The Orange and Brown Report, your home for all the best Cleveland Browns coverage in all of Cleveland. Plus, hanging out with us on a Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, drinking some beers, talking about all of our favorite sports teams, whether it's football, whether it's the Browns, whether it is the Cavaliers, the Blue Jackets, the Guardians. We're going to get into all of it and then some. So we got a great episode planned for you, as I think we're playing with your emotions tonight. I think that's what's going to happen tonight on tonight's episode. I think we're gonna ride the emotional roller coaster through all of our sports teams because there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, and we're going to dive into all of it tonight. Get over to the OBR.com and subscribe. Make sure you're following. If you're watching us, you just saw us maybe on Twitter or something, you're like, oh, just click this link and see what happens. Make sure you follow on YouTube and Twitch. Make sure you like the video. That helps us out. And make sure you follow The Garage Beers on all the socials as well. With you as always, I'm your host, Michael Keefe. Find me online at Garage Beers Mike, and joining me in the garage tonight, both the guys were back in full force. First over on the east side of Cleveland. Find him online at Garage Beers Chad. It's Chad Meyer. What's up, Chad?
This Jackets team, boys. There is a vibe. There is a vibe around this Jackets team, and it's good right now. It's a lot of fun to watch this game. I'm watching them literally dominate the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. And
this is playoffs. This is usually when the Maple Leafs are good.
It's usually when the Maple Leafs are good. And and in years past, the Jackets have jumped out to a 3-0 lead. This was after the first period. And typically that means, everybody's waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Well, the Jackets are showing no signs of that other shoe dropping right now, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Hey, boys, we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to ask you a question. If you could transport one offense in the NFL right now to the Browns, like if we could just teleport, boop, 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 put the type of offense that you want the Browns to have, like in Cleveland right now, who would it be? Just pick an offense from any other team. Who would you want?
Well, I'll start. Seahawks, Rams, 49ers, Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs, who am I forgetting? Oh, Broncos, for sure.
I guess I should rephrase the question.
Pick one off. I'm listing them all. Jaguars, Colts, Texans, Titans, Saints, Buccaneers, Panthers, Falcons. Let's see. Who else is there? Oh, Ravens, obviously.
Fair enough.
Bengals, Steelers, Bears, Vikings, Lions. Who else? Oh, Packers, easy. Cowboys for sure.
5-0.
Giants, Commanders. Let's do. Who am I missing? Who's not listed? Oh, the Eagles.
No, point taken, asshole.
I forgot the Jets, the Patriots, Bills, the Dolphins. Did I say the Giants? I don't think I said the Giants. Oh, for sure, the Giants. The Montreal Alouettes. That's
not in the NFL.
The Blue Bombers.
Right. Sure.
I watched Rocky River High School get shut out last week. I would take their offense. Is there anything else? Is there anyone? Who am I missing?
No one. No, my point being, what I was going to bring up is I love the Lions offense, and I would want the Lions offense in a heartbeat. That is my perfect, ideal offense that I want the Browns to be eventually, whenever that happens, whether it's my lifetime or the next.
That's probably not your lifetime, Chad.
That's going to be in my will. Because I watched that Lions game last week and I said, Jesus, this offense is perfect. It's a perfect offense. But yeah, anyway, how are you?
Joe? Who's your offense that you love to watch the most?
I would say Lions. They're fun.
Hell yeah!
Just the creativity, they can beat you. They can beat you in the physical up front. They can bully you, or they can air it out. Everybody on that offense, the creativity is just it's so. I love that offense so much.
Yeah.
This may surprise you, but the Blue Jackets just scored another goal, 5-0.
I know. I just said it. Well, I said it while you were in the middle of naming every NFL team and CFL team.
I got nothing, man. I don't know. I love the Lions offense. I think it shows you. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs, but I think it shows you look at how good they make Jared Goff. And listen, and he's good himself. I don't mean it like that.
Jared Goff is good.
Yeah, no, I don't mean it like that, but like Jared Goff this season is like an elite level.
Yeah.
He's kind of elite level. I will say I'm going to say an unpopular answer, and it's certainly going to be unpopular this week. But I'll take the Ravens offense in a minute because
Sure.
I love the bully. I love the bully ball nature of the Ravens offense.
Yeah.
Just,
But
you know what we're going to do, and I love Lamar Jackson. Unbelievable. He's an MVP and he's having a better year this year.
but the last time Jared Goff had a year like this, they went to the Super Bowl. The team he was on went to the Super Bowl. So here we are. But here we are. Hey, at least Jameis is starting, so we might look like a real offense on Sunday.
Do you want me to name all of the college football teams real quick?
Nope.
Because that's better than
pretty far down that list.
You know what? Hey, you know what? Do that and then just wrap up the show because it'll take you an hour and a half.
That's right. So you heard his voice. Also joining us down in Nashville, Tennessee. Find him online at Garage Beers Joe. It's Joey Whalen. What's up, Joe?
Boys,
Dude.
fresh off a trip to the ALCS, man. Personally.
Yeah, I had some hangs with Joe this week.
We'll get into that.
It
was a good time, man. Good hangs. Good hangs. Yeah, literally last minute trip. Drove up on Friday. Went to Game 4, which was absolutely electric and a blast. Great memory. Didn't win. That's okay. Saturday, great time with the fam. Sunday, back to Nashville. In and out. It's a good time.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because the theme of our episode tonight, I'm calling it the Sandwich of Love episode. It's going to be the Sandwich of Love because I think we got a lot of really positive things to talk about. And then in the middle of those positive things, we're going to just sandwich the negative right in between there.
So it's the shit sandwich.
And we know. No sandwich.
We like bread.
I like to talk more about the bread than the filling.
Yeah, is this just like I don't know, like a cottage cheese sandwich,
but on great bread. Just
any good sandwich is a bread. So
a beautiful brioche bun, and then just cottage cheese or blue cheese. I don't know what else would be gross, and just
sardines. Yeah, all of it.
Sardines.
So we're gonna the middle of the sandwich is going to be the Browns. We'll get to them in a little bit, but I will tell you my intention here, guys, is let's just kind of let loose no bullshit conversation on the Cleveland Browns because holy shit, there's so much to get into. Towards the end of the show, listen, we got the Cavaliers starting tomorrow. The Cleveland Cavaliers play a real basketball game. Game 1 of the regular season in Toronto tomorrow. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we'll talk about the Blue Jackets. That'll be the back end of it. But we're going to start the Sandwich of Love with a team that deserves all the love, even though the season didn't end the way that they wanted it to. And we're gonna give our final thoughts on the Garage Beers podcast to the Cleveland Guardians. But we can't do any of this. You can't have a good sandwich. You can't have a good cottage cheese sandwich, Joe, if you don't have a good beverage in front of you. And so we're going to start with our Garage Beers of the week, where we're going to just talk about what we're drinking tonight. You guys are already doing great in the comments. So tell us what you're drinking. We'll get it up on the screen. But Joe, you still on waters? We can just kind of
2 weeks left. 2 weeks left. Got my water in the meantime.
2 weeks left. Coming off.
It's great.
Coming off some medical issues. Joe drinking the water.
Drinking the water.
And we're taking that. That's acceptable. It's acceptable.
Great water.
Yeah. You could have lied though. That's a huge metal cup. You could have been like, man, this is just a jug full of whiskey.
Just straight vodka.
Wow, Joe's gonna be wasted. Whoa!
Imagine. Oh my God.
Chad, what are you drinking tonight?
It's just a Great Lakes Haze Craft.
Ooh, good beer.
Yeah. What was that? Hey,
Haze Craft.
Yeah, Chad's getting into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It's meh. It's mid, as the kids say. Mid
nowadays.
Yeah.
You got to twinkle
I think mid is an older term than that.
Was it? Oh,
I remember hearing mid when I was young.
So this isn't fire. This is more like a lighter, like a small flame. It's not fire. It's not all the way fire.
All right. It's not skibbity toilet. Is
yeah. Yes.
I don't know what any of this shit means.
I'm not me neither, but I'm going for it. I do not get turned over this beer.
Okay, that's not.
Do you know Ohio's one of them now too?
What?
Ohio?
What about it?
It's one of the words.
What?
Oh, yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
The hell?
It means.
I don't know. Again, still shout out to Riz. Great one.
Boom.
All right. So we're going to make it a Great Lakes episode. Boys, I stopped at the beer store because oh, there you go. Got the Great Lakes shirt out. I stopped at the beer store because I was like, I'm running a little low on the pumpkin variety beers, and we haven't hit Halloween yet. We're still in pumpkin, and really you could do it all the way up to Thanksgiving. I was running low on pumpkin beers. I didn't have a unique one in the fridge, and I don't like to repeat beers week in and week out. So I walked into the store and it was like a goddamned angel dropped down from the ceiling. And
Whoa.
Right in the middle of the store, it was
like an angels in the outfield type situation. Did you give him one of these?
It was glowing in front of me. Denny Glover was there. I don't know why.
That's crazy.
Tony Danza was pitching.
Danny Glover shops at your beer store?
Unbelievable.
Wow.
I had no idea. And like a light from above, I just got walloped in the face with something. And I said, well, you don't walk by it. You don't walk by it and not grab it. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time.
Oh, okay.
For the first time this season.
All right.
Great Lakes Christmas Ale. The freshest of the fresh batches. They just released it.
Where'd you get it?
Everywhere now. They've released it. It's out.
Oh.
So you just missed it, my man.
Saturday.
You missed it, my man. Great Lakes Christmas Ale is out and available. And I'm going to tell you, I haven't tried it yet this year, but it's delightful.
Yada, yada.
on an unseasonably warm late October day, it's delightful. Just a really good beer. And Christmas Ale, it hits every year. I hate the conversation of like, it's a good batch this year or whatever. No, it's all good, and it is delicious.
Wasn't that a Joey thing? Isn't that what he said? It's a good batch.
Yeah, bad batches.
I don't know who people.
Breweries have bad batches of beer.
No, this tastes the same every year. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Ohio. It's definitely not Ohio.
I don't know what that means.
Ohio means something or someone weird, cringy, or dumb.
Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck, kids?
Yeah, shut the hell up, kids.
Yeah. Jesus.
Say that shit around me and I'm turning into Billy Madison. We're going to have a dodgeball game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're all going down.
Show you.
Now you're all in big trouble.
Big trouble. Call me Ohio.
Be like our buddy Gregory H in the comments. Just drinking a Keystone tonight. Nothing wrong with that. Got to finish an Oak Floor tomorrow. Not jealous of that. But I don't think you can finish an Oak Floor tomorrow without a couple of Keystones flowing through your body. So shout out to you for drinking a Keystone. Let me see. Did I miss any other? I don't see any other beers yet. But if you're having a beer, jump in. Let us know what you're drinking. We'll flash it up on the screen. But those are our Garage Beers of the week. And now let's get in to episode 235 of the Garage Beers podcast. And again, we're going to start on a positive note. And again, I know we're on the OBR. I know on the OBR we love to talk Browns. And we're going to get to the Browns. But here on Garage Beers, we talk about everything. And we're going to start with a positive. And we're going to start with this team that approximately 7 months ago now, we were previewing the season. And, oh, man, Jugman Jess just having a Molson Ice.
Oh.
Let's get Canadian up in here.
Hey.
Let's bring it up from Canada.
That's amazing. Is there a pickup line on the bottle? Remember there used to be like pickup lines on those bottles?
Oh, yeah, Molson Ice. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this team that 7 months ago we were doing season preview shows with guys like Jim Rosenhaus and Steve Phillips. And we were talking about, God, how's this team going to, how are they going to compete? How are they going to score runs? Where are they going to find offense? You know, the pitching will be good, but where are they going to find offense? And we're going to talk about this team that started the season pretty good. They had a pretty good start to the season, nothing too crazy. And then a couple weeks into the season, they kind of took off a little bit and they started building a lead. And we're going to talk about this team that had these all-stars come out of nowhere to represent them after a really good first half of the year. We're going to talk about a team that basically held the entire division lead in the American League Central from beginning to the end of the year, outside of one day where they got tied late in the season and then they stomped the Kansas City Royals into oblivion. And they ran away with the Central Division. We're going to talk about a team that was the number 2 seed in the AL playoffs that got a first-round bye, didn't have to put up with that wild card bullshit, go right to the ALDS. We're going to talk about a team that needed a victory over the Cy Young, the runaway Cy Young winner in the American League in a Game 5 situation in the ALDS to move to the ALCS, and they got it. We're going to talk about a team that surpassed every expectation, that played exactly the way you want them to play, that kept the crowds at Progressive Field big all season and excited all season. Guys, I don't think it gets much better outside of winning 7 more games. I don't think it gets much better than what we saw from the Cleveland Guardians this year. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about these Cleveland Guardians, boys. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Unbelievable season. I mean, we really didn't know what to expect going into it. But yeah, like you said, Mike, right out of the gate, these guys were firing on all cylinders. An incredible first half of the season. A little shaky in the second half. But you go through the Shane Bieber issue and the injury, and you spent a lot of the season trying to find a good starting rotation, but you have the bullpen that's been consistent all year, locking down games. You have an offense that was consistent for the first time since, I don't know, consistent 2007, 2001. I don't know. It's been a long time since we've had a consistent offense that's not streaky throughout the year. This team did everything you could ever hope that they'd want to. It's unfortunate they lost in the LCS, but it's a good Yankees team. It's a really good Yankees team. They deserve to go to the World Series. It's sadly one of the most likable Yankees teams with their personnel. Like Mike, you and I were talking about this. Like, you can't hate Aaron Judge. Like, he's just like, it's a good dude, great player, phenomenal talent.
I want to hate him. I want to hate him.
I want to hate him. I've hated a lot of Yankees. I don't hate Aaron Judge.
I know.
I'd punch him in the face. I'd still would. Yeah.
He wouldn't.
But
super punchable face. Might be a great guy. Super punchable face.
I think there's a lot of great takeaways from the season. One, obviously, the team is very successful. They have a lot of pieces to win, and two, like, if you look at the pieces that maybe we didn't think could be part of this bigger picture of this team or building blocks for this team, you have Cade Smith coming out of nowhere, being just a closer on 28 other teams in this league. You have Brian Rocchio, who I hated up until probably September 28th. Really find his own at the end of the season and was a really great contributor throughout the playoffs. Lane Thomas, what an incredible pickup Lane Thomas was.
And it looked so bad at first.
Yeah, it looked horrible at first. But he just day in and day out was really great for this team. Huge contributor in the playoffs. Sean Kenzie Noel, you have a big bat coming out of the minor leagues this year. That's your home run guy. That's the guy. He's not going to hit for average. He's going to hit home runs. He's got a great arm in right field. Like, there's a lot of pieces of this team that really came out of their shells this year. It's really great to see.
It's just funny every year, because every year we have the same conversation about this baseball team. We always seem to have it, right? Are they going to develop? Because we'll get to the offseason, I know, in a minute, but it's the same story every offseason. They don't make many moves, and you just have to rely on the development of the guys that they have. And it's the biggest question going into this season.
That's it.
Right? Where is the offense going to come from? Are they going to be able to hit? Where are they going to find some power? Where are they going to find some home runs outside of Jose and Josh? The pitching is going to be fine. Little did we know Shane Bieber was going to get hurt. That's his second start. He was going to be out.
We know that was going to be the team's downfall.
Yeah, it was going to be the team's downfall. And they just, I don't even want to say overachieved this year, because they just all played well. It looked like they all took a step up. It looked Stephen Kwan had a nice bounce back year. Andres Jimenez, he went through his ups and downs, but he had a nice bounce back year as well. Josh Naylor, we knew he was good coming into this year. I think he leveled up into stardom. Maybe not a superstar by any means, but he leveled up to be a premier player in this game, a premier hitter in this game. Jose was always Jose, right? But I think the biggest thing this year that made the difference, a huge difference, is they finally didn't stick to their laurels and they played the kids. And the kids, the guys stepped up this year. Whether it was, like we said, John Kenzie Noel, or Tyler Freeman came up with big hits during the season.
Schneemann.
Yes. Yeah, Schneemann. as well. It just all kinds of people. Jonathan Rodriguez even got a couple of hits. Kyle Manzardo wasn't good when he first came up here. He went back down. He learned. He came back up, and he got the ball rolling in game 3 of the ALCS. All of a sudden, he hits a big home run in the ALCS. So yeah, it's just it's so encouraging going forward. Finally seeing what they have and what these kids could do at the major league level. All right. I mean, if you're looking at Manzardo and Jhonkensy Noel, those guys could very well be your next, be your next Josh Naylor, and be your next Jose Urban. They could become, if Jhonkensy Noel and Kyle Manzardo can become, I'm not saying they're going to be Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, but if they can become the guys that can give you 30 home runs and 100 RBIs year in and year out, especially with the control you have on them now, at this team going forward should be very exciting.
Dude, I think a couple of things that you two just said were exactly how I feel. One, remember the beginning of the season when they were playing Estevan Florial and Ron Laureano, and you were like, well, they got to have some veterans out there. And the fact that they just cut bait with those guys quickly, they were like, whoa, we aren't getting jack shit from these guys.
Right.
And they cut bait. The fact that, listen, I don't want to hate on the guy because he's still part of the organization, but the fact that Miles Straw couldn't find his way onto this team, even though he goes down to AAA and plays pretty well, he can't find his way onto this team unless somebody gets hurt. The fact that they said, nah, we're not doing this anymore. We're not just going to play these guys because we feel like we need to play the veterans. We're not going to just keep these guys down there because we think they need to develop more. It's okay sometimes to let guys develop in the majors.
Right.
And I think there's this thing that, like, I feel like it's old school baseball heads have, where if you bring a guy up, you can ruin him. You got to trust that you're bringing guys in that are stronger than that. Get these dudes up here and look at Kyle Manzardo. He wasn't
perfect example. Perfect example.
He wasn't ready. And they sent him back to the minors for a minute, and it got his head together. And it shows you that Kyle Manzardo's got a little bit of strength up there that he didn't sink when they sent him back down. He went down, he figured it out, and he came back up, and he was a critical part of what they did on that end of that season. Yep. I'm so excited for Kyle Manzardo.
No, it's also circumstantial too. I think, when you're bringing these guys up in a kind of lost season, I think there are times they can struggle, not maybe with their playing, but more just like mentally, keeping in it. The team might be deflated at that point. I think they did it when the team was successful, and they did it at the right, I don't know if there was a bad move,
No.
Like they didn't wait too long on anyone. Like when Kyle Manzardo wasn't playing well, they sent him back down. They didn't say, let's have him work it out. Just get him back down. We're winning. We're still doing okay. Figure it out. Come back when you're ready. And it takes a lot of pressure, I think, off of the younger guys when the team's playing well around them. When they come up, they don't have to be like the answer that's coming up from the minor leagues. They can be just a contributor. And that takes a lot of pressure off them, I think.
And then I'm going to go back to another thing that you talked about before, Joe, but I think it's important to do this. You have to tip every bit of the cap to the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you have to tip the cap to the LA Dodgers. And it sucks that these two massive payroll teams are going to be the World Series. And I know Major League Baseball you get New York and LA. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Every professional sports league wants the major markets.
Rob Manfred can cancel his Viagra subscription for the year because of this match.
I think he's taking multiple Viagras for this one.
No, I think he can cancel. He doesn't need them. He's good.
Yeah. Rob, it's Gene Creeman time.
But you got to give credit because we've seen year in and year out. We do this. We in Cleveland rightfully complain about the fact that it's not a very even playing field.
Sure.
But you see every year, you see these big market teams go in and look at what happened last year. Again, Texas was a pretty big market team. So they were a top 10 payroll team. But Arizona goes in and just wipes out the Dodgers like it's nothing. Right. And we've seen it with the Yankees. The Yankees haven't been to the World Series since 2009. Right. So you see these teams with these big payrolls, and then you see these superstars go there and they don't perform in the playoffs. And so you have to tip your cap to the Yankees because when push came to shove, their superstars, all of them, every single one of them showed up exactly like they wanted them to in this series.
Sure.
And we're talking about everybody. We're talking about, I mean, look at what these guys did. Aaron Judge is just a menace, and you just have to deal with Aaron Judge. And he showed up in this series, bunch of big hits. Juan Soto is just as frightening in a lineup as Aaron Judge is. Just as frightening, and he showed up. And look what he did in the 10th inning of Game 5. On a high fastball that was up and out of the zone, the dude parks it to dead center field. Sure. And it's just like a 3-run homer to end the series. Unbelievable. Look at some of the other guys in the lineup they're good players. Look at Gleyber Torres was torrid in this series. He was unbelievable in this series. Anthony Rizzo, he's not the power bat guy anymore, but I feel like every time he was up to the plate, he slapped a single out into the outfield.
And he just gave up 2 broken fingers.
What'd you say?
He just had 2 broken fingers before the series.
Right. They got contributions from everybody, and it's a guy I feel good for. It's Giancarlo Stanton. Because I just think you got to remember what he went through, right? He got to New York. He wasn't as good as they thought he was going to be. They booed the shit out of Giancarlo Stanton for years. They hated him there. They hated him. And Giancarlo Stanton was their best player in the series, and it wasn't even close. And every time the dude got up, if you pitched to him, he made you pay. And, maybe we want to have this conversation. I know a lot of people, I don't know where you guys fell in this spectrum. A lot of people were really mad that they pitched to Giancarlo Stanton when they did. Where'd you guys fall on that?
Yeah, look, I think contextually with the series, and from me knowing that we really not overperformed, maybe that's the right word, it sounds harsh, but we overperformed to be where we are in this playoff run. Because of that, there are a lot of mistakes made coaching wise, playing wise. I didn't feel the need to nitpick that. I think the team showed me enough just to get to this point in the playoffs, where, things are going to happen. There's a lot of guys, most of the guys have never been to a CS before. The Yankees are a very well-seasoned team, very veteran team. We pitched to Giancarlo Stanton. I think we call it kind of when they were playing it too. It's like, I would maybe rather pitch to Chaz Chisholm, because he hasn't literally hit anything the entire series. But in hindsight, I don't know. That doesn't keep me up at night.
I don't think it keeps me up at night, but I mean, I think it was kind of an obvious call to make to not pitch to him, with how much because it was really him and Juan Soto that killed you. Yes, Aaron Judge did come up with big hits, but Judge didn't kill you with the long ball. Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton killed you with the long ball. And if there was an open base, especially when you're pitching to a guy like Jazz Chisholm afterwards, I think that was an obvious call. Did I get, was I pissed about it? Yes, but I mean, I'm over it now. Like, I'm not going to let it linger. I think that's something that's going to come with, a rookie postseason manager. He's going to learn from his mistakes and move on.
The only thing I think people didn't talk about, again, especially in Game 5, when Giancarlo Stanton hit that game-tying home run when Tanner Bybee was pitching the game of his life, just mowing down the Yankees.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, why did you pitch? Why'd you haven't pitched to Stanton? To be honest, I don't think he did. He got Stanton to swing at 2 pitches out of the zone. He threw more pitches out of the zone. I think he missed. I think Bybee missed. That was a slider that I think was supposed to go low and out of the zone. I think if it was where it was,
Naylor was set up outside the zone on that one.
Yeah, Bo Naylor was set up way outside. And I think if that pitch was going to go where it was supposed to go, I think Giancarlo Stanton strikes out. And I think that's the funny thing is, in a series like this, that's if you strike out Giancarlo Stanton instead of walking him, it's momentum building. You walk off the mound and everybody's fired up and
well,
again, I just don't think they were trying to pitch to him. I think that pitch was supposed to go low and outside, and Bybee missed it, and he missed it. And Stanton, to his credit, in this whole series, if you missed a spot to Giancarlo Stanton, he put a ball into the stands.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's kind of like a trick play, right? You look like a genius if it works, but you look like an asshole if it doesn't. and Bybee missed on that one.
Well, so
he said, slider low and away. Yeah, I'm going to go back door on this and put it out over the middle of the plate.
That was tough. It was tough. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
Boys, the series ends in 5 games. The Guardians lose 4-1. I don't know that you're going to see a closer 5-game series in any sport, in any event of all time. You don't take solace in that per se, but maybe you do a little bit, because as world's fastest fat man, whatever you want to say, the Yankees were more dangerous. They were more seasoned, and the Guardians, like, they were ahead of schedule basically here, but they kept it close. Listen, the way the Guardians played in games 1 and 2 was bad. It was bad. Embarrassing almost. The mistakes, it was gross. But how close was this series? You could probably point to 4 different plays, just plays, pitches, 4 pitches you could probably point to. That was the difference between the Yankees sweeping the Guardians and the Guardians going back to New York up 3-2.
Yep.
You could probably point to 4 pitches that are the differentiator between those 2 outcomes. So I do feel pretty good about that. I do feel pretty good that here's this Yankees team where they needed. I said you got to give them credit because their stars showed up. But I think the other side of that coin is they needed them all to show up. If one of those guys didn't, if Soto didn't show up, if Stanton didn't show up, the Guardians are the better team in that series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I kind of wanted to go back to it. You talked about, like, having the conversation about the offseason. If there's one undeniable thing about MLB, Major League Baseball, right, and the World Series championships and the postseason, is a lot of these teams have star power on their teams, and they show up in the playoffs. Every World Series champion has one outside of the 03 Marlins, right? And that's why, and I think that's why I alluded to earlier. I mean, going forward, if we're going to have this conversation, that's why I'm just kind of hoping, because, again, this is a Guardians organization that doesn't spend a whole lot of money. That's why I'm hoping Manzardo and guys like Manzardo and Jhonkensy Noel can become stars.
You need them
because if they can, I think, I mean, my God, that home run that Big Christmas hit in Game 4. I mean. Wow. Wow. Like, if he can come up in big moments like that, and become that star, I think that this team is going to go far. And I think that's the big key going into next year. But to your point, but getting back to on topic here, Mike, this series, people are going to look at the Yankees winning in 5 and they're going to be like, oh yeah, they dominated the series. No, they didn't. No, they didn't at all. That series win for the Yankees wasn't indicative of how close this series actually was.
And again,
people
series win.
That you drive in Bo Naylor from third in the bottom of the 8th there. And we're talking about a completely different series. We're playing Game 6 in New York tonight.
Yeah.
if they're able to drive in Bo Naylor from third with 1 out, because I think he was on third with 1 out, wasn't he?
Yeah.
With 1 out. So if they're able to get a key hit there, it's like you said, just a couple of plays, and it shows the difference.
Well, and listen, I don't want to slam anybody. Did you guys see the story that came out? And I don't remember who put it out, but you can look it up online. It's fair to say, it's fair to talk fairly. It's fair to talk about what actually happened. And the Guardian stars didn't show up in this series. Stephen Kwan was really good. Brian Rocchio was really good again.
Yeah.
You had big hits out of I feel like every time David Fry touched the ball, it went to the wall. You had Noel with big hits. You had Lane Thomas with big hits. Jose really struggled all series long, and Josh Naylor was non-existent almost. I mean, he played good Game 4. He played a pretty good game. Game 5, he played a pretty decent game. But Josh Naylor really struggled. Did you see the story, guys? And somebody said they boarded a flight and all the Naylor brothers were on the flight. And somebody went up to Josh, and Josh was sitting with his fiance, and they were like, hey, man, congrats on an awesome season, and thank you for the memories, right? Like, just something that I think we would all say to the dude right now. And the fiance looked up, and Josh looked up and was like, oh, wow. And the fiance goes, yeah, he hasn't heard a lot of that.
Oh,
I know he had a tough, especially a tough ALCS, but come on now. Dude hit 31 homers and 100 plus RBIs this season, right? Like, you aren't where you're at without Josh Naylor.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's tough because, everyone's going to remember kind of just recency bias, what happened last with the team.
Yeah.
You can say the same for Clase. You can say the same for Jose
Oh,
Ramirez.
I know.
I mean, it's just tragic because those guys have been lights out all year, and they had a couple games.
Yeah,
and they've had a bad couple games throughout the season, minus Clase. But like, if they had a bad couple games throughout the season, it just wasn't as impactful of a time.
Yeah.
But
so,
yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, so let's move in because I want to get to the middle part of our sandwich here. Let's go into this offseason. We're already starting to get some questions in the comments. Albert in the comments says, do you think they bring back Matthew Boyd? And I think let's expand that question a little bit. Let's expand that question a little bit to the starting pitching, because I do think this offseason, the starting pitching is the number one thing we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I will say one positive. It's a real negative about what happened this season, but I do think one positive about what's going to come out of everything is I'd be shocked to see Shane Bieber anywhere but Cleveland next year.
Right.
I probably signs a short, like a 1-year deal. Maybe they can get him for 2, but I think Shane Bieber is back in Cleveland. I don't think he's going to go sign a contract anywhere else at this point. But then you talk about some of these other guys. Do you think they bring back Matthew Boyd? I would hope so.
Yeah.
I'd hope
Yeah.
so too.
I would hope so. I think Matthew Boyd, I mean, when you listen to the way Matthew Boyd talked about how things have gone and how much he liked pitching here and all that, do I think they've got an inside track? Do I think Matthew Boyd really wants to come back? Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yes.
I think
Matthew Boyd earned himself a contract one way or the other with the way he pitched.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think Matthew Boyd comes back. I think Shane Bieber's back. I think Matthew Boyd's back. I think you got Bibee. And then there's questions because Gavin Williams didn't really show you anything this year. I don't think they bring back Alex Cobb. I don't think there's any real point in doing that.
It depends on what he's asking for. I mean, I'd take a flyer on it.
Yeah, as your 5th guy, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he's battling injuries. He had a really unfortunate return from his he had Tommy John, right? Or
yes.
I can't remember if him or Boyd had Tommy John.
No,
but
whatever.
Yeah, the fingernail, the blister. I mean, like, those are detrimental to a pitcher. I mean, blisters, I feel like those are one of the longest recoveries for pitchers that, like, they come back from in this season. The blisters are the worst because, like, even when you come back and it's healed, like, they're still not feeling the ball right. And then, he led to the back spasms. He's probably overexerting. So I would love to just take a flyer on him for next year. I don't think there's a huge risk there.
Unless it just depends. So here's where we're at, guys. And listen, Sean's asking about Tristan McKenzie. If he gets his stuff together, do you think he comes back? If he gets his stuff together, I think so.
That's a big if.
I think that if in that sentence is doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I don't know that I see Tristan McKenzie ever turning into what it looked like he might turn into. Here's the deal. I know we expect the Guardians, rightly so. I know we expect the Guardians to do not much in the way of spending this offseason. But I think it's going to depend. They made a lot more money this year than they've made in years past. And so I think the question becomes, do we see the Guardians of 2016 going into 2017? Or do we see the Guardians of 2021 going into 2022? Because here's the difference. The Guardians of 2016 going into 2017 added Edwin Encarnacion and added pitching depth. And they added payroll to the roster because they were one game away from winning a World Series, and they thought, all right, let's go for it. The Guardians of 2021 was a bunch of young dudes that made it out of the wild card round and got beat by the Yankees. And the thought process with them was, hey, it was a bunch of young dudes. Let's let them develop. Well, here's the issue that I have. And I think it's the thing we don't talk about a lot. There was a lot of young dudes on that team that were critical parts of that team that made a little run in 2021 that are not in Cleveland anymore.
Right.
Oscar Gonzalez, SpongeBob, man. I thought SpongeBob was going to be here for 10 years.
Yeah.
Gone. Will
Right.
Benson, gone. Like, there were a lot of dudes on that team that are no longer on this team. And so I'm not expecting the Cleveland Guardians to go out and be the big money spender this offseason.
Nobody
But
ever should.
I would love to see them be a little bit more 2016, 2017, where they say, hey, listen, we're going to bump up from the 27th or 26th ranked payroll in baseball, and maybe not even that, to the 20th or the 19th ranked payroll because we got a real chance here. I would love to see that. I don't know that I'm hopeful for it, but they've done it before. That there is a precedent.
Shit in one hand, wish in the other, see which one fills up first.
All right.
No.
I hate this conversation, but like we have a window here with some really key guys on this team. Like you have a window with Clase right now. You have a window with Ramirez. You have a window with Naylor. And granted, those windows are open for a couple of years now. But like you saw a lot of this team that feels very consistent, and I would lean towards they're going to take a couple chances. I don't think there's going to be a big spending off season, but I think they're going to make a couple moves, and hopefully above other moves of trades and acquisitions, they re-sign, extend Stephen Kwan. They give Cade Smith a contract. The kid just absolutely pitched his way into one this year. I think those would be incredible.
Oh, Joe's muted again. There he goes.
Yeah, how did you mute yourself without even touching anything? That's weird.
It was like a meltdown.
I absolutely just caressed the microphone cord, and
just caressed.
It's so hot.
Mine does the same thing. I think there's names to watch within. I think there are names to watch within the organization. I think Ben Lively in the rotation. I mean, man, he had a good year. He's young. You hope he can come back. I do also think, though, I've looked up a couple like projections for next year, and I've seen like 3 or 4 of them. I got to tell you, I think I would love it. Let's go balls to the wall. If we're not going to go spend a bunch of money in the offseason, let's balls to the wall within the organization. And let's just make Travis Bazzana the starting second baseman of the team next year. Move Andres Jimenez over. Make your utility guy. Why am I blanking? Rocchio. Make Rocchio your infield utility guy. And let's take real chances here.
All right.
Let's take real chances.
I like your style, Garage Beers, Mike.
It's not going to cost you a bunch of money, but here you go. You got this guy. You can keep him around for a long time. Get his ass up to the majors and let's let him play. Yeah, he's already a champion. He's already a champion. We need a guy that knows how to win championships on the roster.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Why not? Again, do something. You gotta make some sort of move for sure. Travis Bazzana. Let's go.
And one of my favorite things that came out with the Bazzana draft was like, he's like a player coach, in between innings. Like he's not afraid to talk to guys. Like he had a guy talk to Jose. I'm sure people talk to Jose Ramirez throughout that CS series, but like maybe Bazzana could have like found something in like, hey, that curveball that goes inside, don't swing at that ever.
Hey, Jose, you asshole.
Fuck it. Daniel Espino, 5th starter next year. Let's go.
I loved. Did you guys see the article that came out from ESPN that listed the 4 top destinations for Juan Soto? And it was like the Yankees, the Mets, the Dodgers, and the Guardians.
Let's go.
And so Tom Hamilton was talking about it. It was my favorite thing I've heard Tom Hamilton talk about. He goes, what happy hour was that writer at when he wrote that? Oh my God, it was amazing. Yeah, it's interesting. I like this comment. And again, maybe you could get a guy like this. Zook Zuchenko loves the idea of Anthony Santander from Baltimore. He thinks he would get a lot because he had 40 homers. But remember, Santander was a Indians at the time, an Indians prospect. He was in our system. I would love that. I would
Sure.
love that little extra
Sure.
pop in the lineup that you could put all over the place. But again, the lineup is not really what I'm concerned about here, guys, because for the first time in a long time, I feel like you've just got reinforcements out the ass in the lineup.
Right.
Whether it's maybe you want to make a move to Bazana. I bet you $100 Chase DeLauters with the Guardians to start the year next year.
Yeah.
I bet you $100 that Kyle Manzardo are. I bet those guys are with the team. I think you guys like Will Brennan are in trouble going into next year. The lineup, I'm cool. We're gonna run this thing back with Bo Naylor. I just hope he keeps getting better. Man, Bo was good in that series.
Sure was.
We're going to run it back with Bo and Josh. I would love to see Andres scoot over to shortstop. If you're going to be an elite defender, go be an elite defender at shortstop, please. Let's run it with Roki and Bazana at second base. I'm cool with that. Let's run it with Naylor at first base. I'm cool with that. Put Manzardo and Quan and Lane Thomas and Chase DeLauter. Like the lineup to me is not a huge concern. They just got to find pitching. You got to find pitching. And for the first time in a long time, it just doesn't feel like the next great pitcher is just one promotion away. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think this offseason is the offseason of pitching because I think this team's well set up to score runs every year now. I think that's where they're at. So listen, we'll see what happens. Yankees and Dodgers playing for the World Series. I think that starts tomorrow? I don't know when that starts, but the World Series, Yankees, Dodgers.
It's got to be Thursday. Oh, it's tomorrow. No, Thursday.
I'm sure there'll be a billion people watching.
Because this would have been Game 7 of the CS, so they would have an off day, and then Thursday.
Yeah,
I think it should start.
It'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun World Series. Give me Shohei versus Judge. Give me those guys. I'll peek in on it.
I'll watch it.
I don't think I'm going to watch every second of it, but I'm going to watch it.
There's too much football on right now for me to watch it.
But again, big time shout out to the Cleveland Guardians for what they accomplished because it was spectacular. So, all right, let's go to the middle part of the sandwich, boys. Let's fucking do it. The Cleveland Browns have one win on the season.
Yay.
What is it? 1-6? Are we 1-6? Is that
We're
right?
1-6.
Yeah. Cleveland Browns are 1-6. And boys, there's a lot to talk about. And there's a lot to unpack. But I don't think we can unpack anything without first unpacking what happened.
Sure.
And so to give you the brief rundown, Cleveland Browns taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Deshaun Watson's out there. I think he played terrible. I know his numbers are one thing. I do think the last drive was spectacular. I think he was great. He was firing the ball down the field. I was like, where has this been? As he was just checking down and checking down and checking down and checking down. It's like, wow, but look at all these passes he completed. I'm like, yeah, for an average of 4 yards. But on that last drive, man, I thought he was looking better. They get down into scoring position. I'm like, okay, they're finding a little something. They're unloading the offense a little bit. Okay. And then Deshaun Watson drops back. He looks like he's going to try to take off up the middle. And as he plants that back foot, man, the minute they showed the replay, it was very obvious what happened. You saw that calf pop happened, and you just knew it was that Achilles tendon that separated. And so Deshaun Watson ruptured his Achilles tendon. He's out for the rest of the season. We'll see how long he is out for. But let's unpack the big story of the week, and then we'll actually talk about the Browns. The big story of the week is this. I've asked a lot of people that were in the stadium their opinion. I've got a couple mixed results. But Browns fans cheered Deshaun Watson when he was down on the field. Now, I've had some people say it was a small number of Browns fans. I've had some people say they felt like it was everybody. That could be sectional, right? Like, depending on where you were sitting, if your section went crazy, you felt like it was everybody. But it's true. The fans did. There are fans in that stadium that cheered the fact that Deshaun Watson ruptured his Achilles while he was down on the field. And now you've got comments, guys. Now you've got Myles Garrett coming out and talking about how disappointed he is in the fans. You've got Jameis Winston, who's going to be your, by the way, it was announced today that Jameis Winston is going to be your starting quarterback this week.
I can't wait for that.
I can't either. Wait. We'll talk about that. But he came out and kind of scolded the fans. Even today on 92.3, as Carmen and Lima we're talking to Rodney McLeod. He scolded the fans. You had a lot of Greg Newsome went online and scolded the fans. You had a lot of that players scolding fans situation. So I got a really strong opinion on this. But Chad, I'm going to throw it to you first. Joe, you chime in afterward. Tell me how you guys feel about this whole situation.
There's so many layers with so many multiple things that are true to this. It's unbelievable. First off, yeah, I get it. I understand the mentality of not cheering a guy being seriously hurt like that. I just do it. I mean, it happened with Tim Couch back in to 02, 03, something like that. You should never cheer anybody getting seriously hurt. But you also got to understand the other side of it too, right? I mean, there was probably, if I had to guess, if I had to use common sense at all, right? You know, Mike, you said it was sectional. You know, there was probably a section of Browns fans cheering because of his off the field allegations. Yeah. Right. And I don't know. I guess I can't blame him for that.
No.
Right. I can't blame him for that at all. Right. And then there was a section of Browns fans cheering probably because he's been terrible at quarterback.
Terrible.
He's been absolutely terrible at quarterback. So they're happy that this guy is not going to be our quarterback anymore. Move over to the players. If you're the players, I understand getting in the foxhole with your teammate. I do. I absolutely understand not being upset that fans cheer that your teammate, the guy you're going to war with every week, is down on the field hurt and someone's cheering. But to say things like he's been a model citizen.
Yes, Jesus Christ.
And say things like he's been a model citizen and to say things like I don't know, just always taught to love no matter what. No, sorry. You can't take you cannot take the moral high ground in this situation when you've shown none for anything, for any of the situation that your quarterback came in with. You can't do that.
Dude, guys, this step one for me on the, I was like, what the fuck did they just say?
Yeah, right.
It was Myles Garrett saying, man, as a college player and most of his time as a professional player, he's been like a really good guy.
Right.
Myles, I love Myles. Myles is my favorite player.
I know.
Shut the fuck up. What?
Right.
Why would you say that?
Right.
If Myles Garrett would have just come out and said, man, this is my teammate, and this is a guy I'm in the foxhole with, and I really don't think the fans should be cheering if a player's down on the field.
And then leave it at that.
Great statement.
Leave it at that.
And I'd agree with him. But what? He said for most of his pro career. Yeah, well, you know what, Myles? You know what the other most of the pro career was?
Right.
You know what the not most was? You know what that part that isn't most was? Dozens of sexual allegations.
Right.
And I've said it 100 times on this podcast. I wasn't in those rooms.
Right.
I don't know what happened.
Right.
I know you've got allegations. I know you've got denials. I know you got a lawyer that I think is a trash ball over here.
Right.
But I also am not going to invalidate the words of these people, these women that are coming out, because there's no way all those things are false. The dude is settled 100 times.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're settling after settling after settling.
There's
that shit to get out.
Common sense would tell you, and it's just the law of averages. There's way too much smoke there for there not to be any fire.
Hey, listen, guys. Let's say there's 24 sexual assault allegations. And let's say of the 24, 23 of them are people just chasing money. Guess what? The one is too much.
Way too much.
One is too much. The one makes him a monster.
Right.
The one makes him a piece of shit.
Right.
So to sit there when you're Myles Garrett and say, most of his pro career, he's been a model citizen. No.
No.
Nope.
And then Jameis Winston backtracks on that. And Jameis Winston goes, man, for everything this man has been through over the last 3 years, shut the fuck up.
Right.
What
and he's had
are
the
you
world
talking
against
about?
him. He's had the world against him.
He's had the world against him.
As
Yeah.
he should have.
Yeah.
He hasn't had enough people against him.
It's all self-inflicted. It's all self-inflicted,
He
dude.
hasn't had enough people against him.
Yeah.
God dang it. There's a lot of us that said, I think all of us are in this boat on this podcast. There's a lot of us that said, man, I don't really like this. I don't really like what they're doing here. I was cool. I was fine with them getting rid of Baker because I don't think Baker turns into this version of Baker with Cleveland. We've talked about that over and over. But I was like, ooh, I feel a little gross about Deshaun. I feel a little gross about this, but we were like, you know what? I'm gonna. It's my team. I'm gonna root for my team. It is what it is. That's it. I'm gonna root for my team. And I don't like Deshaun Watson, but I didn't like Albert Bell either. And I didn't like. Oh, I got some other stories about some other players that I'm not gonna go into. But like, there's some guys I didn't like, but I root for my team. And then, and for you guys to come out as the players again, if Deshaun or if Jameis Winston would have come out and said, we lay this out here for you. We're trying to win for you. Deshaun, listen, I don't think you can say Deshaun wasn't out there giving it his all. He was.
No. Yeah.
I don't think he's all very
put
good.
forth the effort. He just sucked.
He was giving it his all.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Don't listen to say, hey, can we not boo? Fine. But man, the extra shit that they put into this, Jameis Winston acting emotional because of all the stuff that Deshaun's had to go through the last 3 years and the world's against him. Dude, put the world against him.
Yeah. And people talking about, oh, Jameis Winston's words, so powerful words. What? Sure, everybody loves Jameis for his pregame speeches, right? Everybody loves Jameis for his he's such a great teammate. What? People all of a sudden forgot that Jameis Winston has had some issues of his own. Not to the level of Deshaun Watson.
Well, kind of close.
But how are you going to call that a powerful statement coming from a guy that has had his own demons that he's had to deal with?
Joey, jump in, man. Jump in.
I mean, look. I'm elated he's not our quarterback right now. I think I wanted him to not be our quarterback in almost any way other than being injured. Because, like, I don't know. I don't feel like the personal injury is like, yes, this is awesome. Like, that sucks for anyone, regardless if you're a bad person or not, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I hate it. I hate the reaction on it. I don't really have anything additional to add to it. I wish it didn't happen that way. I wish they benched him and like humiliated him that way.
Yes, me too. I wish it would have gone down that way. I wish it would have been of his own bad play. But listen, world's fastest fat man says in the comments, and I know you might get annoyed by the conversation, but like he says, it is possible that there are aspects of Watson that the guys wanted to support and show love for. No doubt.
Sure.
100%. We're not saying anything separate than that, dude. We're not saying anything separate. Again, Chad said, you understand these are guys that have bonded with this guy. And he may not be a terrible person in the locker room. He may not be the worst guy to be around. He might be kind of a fun guy to hang out with. And you're going to bond through training camp and through all these other things. Again, when it comes to this conversation of these players jumping out and getting after the fans, again, if the conversation would have been, man, we just watched our quarterback that we've been through training camps with, and we fought and bled with. We just watched his Achilles pop, and then we listened to you guys cheer, and we didn't like that. If that's where the conversation ended, I'm good with it. I'm cool with it, and I agree with the players.
Same here.
It didn't, though. It didn't. And they're saying shit about a guy that has been a terrible person. And they're trying to make the fans feel bad. And all that's going to do is rile the fans up more. And all it did was rile me up more because I was like, I feel like I'm living in the goddamn upside down. With you guys talking about Deshaun, and he's a model citizen. He's been good for most of his career. And all the stuff he's had to go through. Fuck that. Don't do that, because here's the thing. No matter what, this dude got shoved down our throats.
Right. We
This
didn't
dude-
ask for this.
Nobody asked. None of the fans
Right.
asked for this. This dude got shoved down our throats, and we had to make the decision. To say, hey, I guess I either have to not cheer for my team that I've cheered for since I was born, or I have to say, I don't really like this guy, but I'm sticking with my team.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just fall on Deshaun. It falls on the Haslams and Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta and Kevin Stefanski and everybody else. And what they did that fateful day in March of 2021 that I don't think anybody realized the scope of is they made being a Browns fan uncomfortable. It's been uncomfortable for 3 fucking years to be a Browns fan.
Right.
It's still uncomfortable. And so I think there needs to be a little bit of understanding on everybody's part that, yeah, you know what? Maybe you don't think it's cool that he got cheered, but let's put this thing into context for a minute and realize that there's a lot of people with a lot of big emotions about this circumstance that they got put into because all they want to do is root for their football team. And now it's uncomfortable to do that.
And another
big,
thing,
it's big. It's big.
Yeah. And another thing that's kind of the fucked up part about this to me, and another part, like a kind of like a sidebar fucked up part about this to me, all of this could have been avoided. And I tweeted about this earlier. All of this could have been avoided if he just would have played well. Nobody would have forgot about it, but it just would have been put on the back burner. If he just would have played well, no, nothing. It's kind of like Big Ben, right? All of his allegations against Big Ben. You think Pittsburgh wouldn't have wanted to run Big Ben out of a town if he lost, if he wasn't a good quarterback? No. Deshaun, but this is the risk that the Haslams, Andrew Berry, Paul DePodesta, everybody took when they signed this guy to this big contract. Oh man, we pray that he's this guy from 2020 that he was in Houston, but it went the other way, right? This is the risk you took when you signed it of it going the other way, and now you've pitted the players against the fans and the fans against the players. This is what's happening now, and it, 3 years of it being uncomfortable. I don't know if this team continues to lose, it's going to get even worse.
It's a powder keg. I don't know why people don't realize it.
Yeah.
It's 3 years. And we've all been through it. And you guys in the comments have been through it. And I see the comments going, and we got some people that really agree and some people that disagree a little bit. But I don't know how you guys don't see it. It's a powder keg that we've all been thrown into. It was only a matter of time before this thing exploded. And you might think it's shallow. And I think it's shallow, but I understand it too. If Deshaun Watson would have been Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson, then we would have rooted for him. We would have been happy our team was good, and we would have said, "Hey, we're moving on." And actually, I think there's another layer to that. If Deshaun Watson would have showed up here and been like working with the women's shelters and
going to like the rape crisis centers.
Yes, trying to make a name, make amends or show that he cares about the situation. But I also think there's an element
being
of it.
The model citizen that Miles thought he was. I
also think there's an element. I got to tell you, every time I see the dude post a picture next to a Lamborghini in Saudi Arabia or next to a Bentley in Vegas, and listen, live your life, do your thing. But I got to tell you, every time I see a dude post a picture, every time I see Deshaun posting that picture, which he does all offseason, it makes me hate him even more because I'm like, man, we're the city that gave you the chance.
Right.
Our organization is the one that gave you the chance that a lot of organizations were real cautious about. And we gave you the chance. We gave you the chance to come in here and be the guy that you say you are. We gave you that chance. We gave you the chance to come in here and say, I'm going to go make amends for these things that I've been accused of. And I want to bring awareness to the situation. And I want to really be a part. Does anybody feel like Deshaun Watson is a part of this community at all? At all?
Unless it goes to Glenville. Glenville really loves him.
But even that I don't feel like is real.
No.
He just shows up, he hands out some shoes, and he leaves.
Well, yeah. Well, Glenville gave him a state championship ring, but that's the only part of the community I've seen him be in.
Everything about this guy strikes me as he comes to Cleveland, he plays, he can't wait to get the fuck out. He goes on his whatever, he flaunts his contract, he flaunts his money. He does nothing for the city, literally nothing for the city.
Right.
And we're supposed to be like, oh, Deshaun. Oh, no. Oh, shoot,
Right.
Deshaun's hurt. No, I don't feel it. I wouldn't have applauded. If I was in the stadium, I would not have applauded that he was hurt because I don't think it's right to do that.
No, I wouldn't have applauded, but I wouldn't have been cheering. I wouldn't have been booing. Like, I just kind of would have been just, okay.
Exactly how you felt when you saw it.
Yeah.
When I saw the injury, Chad, you know how I felt? Huh?
Yeah. I was like, okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. When I saw the news, because I traded not watching the Browns live this weekend.
Well, lucky you. Oh, Chad texted me, by the way. I want to tell this story. Chad texted me. He goes, or no, you put something out. It was like either on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever. And you were like, I didn't watch the game live, but I'm sitting down to watch it now. I immediately texted him. I said, save
You're
yourself.
like, no,
don't do it. Don't game. Don't spend two. And he was like, well, don't I have to watch the game for the podcast? And I was like, fuck no.
No.
You know exactly what happened in this game.
I will say, when you record it and you fast forward, so you can fast forward between every play 30 seconds. And you fast forward through all the commercials. You watch the whole thing in an hour. It's great.
Nice. Fuck yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right, real quick. Let's get off of Deshaun because he is, in my opinion, I don't think Deshaun Watson's the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns for the rest of time. I don't know that he ever comes back from this. And okay.
I hope he doesn't. I
really
hope he doesn't.
I hope so too. I'd love to never see him in the Browns again, on the Browns again. But so the Browns lose to the Bengals. And one thing that I think is a little unfairly happening here, because I will say this is the season of what can go wrong, will go wrong for the Browns. So the Browns make this announcement that DTR is going to be the backup and they're going to make Jameis Winston the emergency third quarterback. And people are killing Kevin Stefanski for it. And I'm like, you don't manage because you think something is going to happen. You don't manage because you think your guy is going to get his Achilles ripped off. They said they had some plays that they drew up in this game because they saw something with Cincinnati and they had some plays drawn up for DTR. So I think if Deshaun Watson would have stayed healthy all game, I still think you would have seen DTR every once in a while.
Yeah.
In the game. And then Deshaun goes out, DTR comes in. He looks really good for one series, man. That series where he ran for like 50 yards in one series, it was like, oh, let's go. And he looked so fast. But then the rest of the game, DTR didn't look very good. And he goes out with an injury, and Jameis Winston comes in, and Jameis looked like you would expect a quarterback to look under Kevin Stefanski's system. He didn't look great, but he looked like you expect a quarterback to look in Kevin Stefanski's system. So they've already made the announcement that Jameis Winston is a starter this week. If DTR is not ready to come back, you're going to have Bailey Zappi as your backup. They signed him today. A guy that
what was DTR's injury again?
What's that?
What was his injury
finger?
again?
It's a ligament injury on his throwing hand.
Okay.
But they lose to the Bengals. But let's talk about positives real quick. Joe, let's talk about positives. And there's one big positive.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Chubb scored a touchdown.
Nick
in that
Chubb,
game.
man.
Nick Chubb scored a touchdown.
He looked, I'm not going to say like fantastic. I think he looked really good though, you know? I think given, go on.
I was going to say, I think Nick showed you on probably 3 or 4 runs, because in the end, Nick ran for, I think, 2 yards a carry.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's indicative of how he looked. I think there were 3 or 4 runs, Joe, where Nick showed you what a difference maker he is.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple runs that they've tried to get, those kind of outside zone read runs that Jerome Ford doesn't read very well, and D'Onta Foreman doesn't read very well. That Nick Chubb, like, he did that typical, he speeds to the outside, he slows down and waits for a blocker, and then he finds a hole and goes. And he had like 3 or 4 of those in that game, and I was like, oh, it's so good to see it back.
He's running with he ran with a lot of toughness. And you got to remember, like, Nick Chubb is not going to have a Nick Chubb season this year. Injury aside, our offensive line is taking a massive step back from last year and years prior. Beaten up, not playing very well, whatever it is. So he's unlikely he's going to have an explosive season, but he made, I think, the most out of his opportunities. And I look back, like last season when Jerome Ford came in and Nick Chubb went down, he played, I think, decent all year and much better than he looked this year. But like you said, Mike, like Nick Chubb was taking advantage of those holes and gaps and was waiting for them to develop much better than we've seen. It was just a much more mature running style. He just looked good. I think that's all you can ask for a guy that's missed, 16 months of ball, coming back.
Well, and the thing with Nick Chubb is the workload's only going to get bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Like that he's only going to get more carries. And I don't expect him. He got 11 carries in the game against Cincinnati. I think maybe you get to 15 this week.
Yeah.
I know people don't love it. I know people are not real excited that he's not getting his 24, 22, whatever carries, but you got to work the guy back in. But I think you'll get a few more carries this week. And Nick Chubb, you could just feel it. He's just the heartbeat of the team. He's just the heartbeat of the team. So here comes, they lose to the Bengals. They're 1-6. This season's over, by the way.
It was over last week.
Well, they're not going to win. They're not going to win 10 games in a row. Like you're not going to win 9 of the last 10 games. It's just not going to happen. But there's places that they can show that they can build, and I know a lot of people now we're doing that thing of, do we want to win games or do we want to tank? You always want to win games because you want your guys that are here to feel that fight so they can bring it next year,
or want to resign.
I gotta tell you, here's what I have to tell you. We've got the lowest ranking offense going up against the top rated offense this week, Baltimore, Cleveland. We've got the Cleveland defense has been better than Baltimore's defense. Baltimore's defense has been pretty not great. And I think the big thing for Baltimore's defense is where it shows is that they don't turn the ball over. They have like a 0 turnover differential on the season.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't get other teams to commit turnovers the way you would expect Baltimore's defense to. I think Jameis is going to go out and play much more in the groove of Kevin Stefanski's offense. I think you're going to get a little more Nick Chubb in your life. And I think this is going to be a much more competitive game than anybody thinks it's going to. And to be honest with you, I think the Cleveland Browns with Jameis Winston at quarterback are going to look much more like the Cleveland Browns that you saw with Joe Flacco. I don't know that Jameis can be as good as Flacco was, but damn, he's the same kind of quarterback.
Yeah.
Gunslinger. He'll throw interceptions, but he'll also complete big plays. I think we're back to that level. And I do think the Browns are going to win some games with Jameis Winston as their quarterback.
There's a couple of things that I think, if James Winston comes out and do these things, I think we can call it a pretty good success of his tenure this season with the Browns. And that's, one, get the ball out quick. And while you're getting the ball out quick, go through your reads a little bit. Just quick. Don't get the ball and look check down. Get the ball and just look, maybe 5 yards, maybe 10 yards down the field. And just see what's out there. There's
throw the ball that far?
Guys. I think he can. I really think he can. He's going to throw some interceptions, maybe a lot of interceptions. But that's kind of Jameis Winston. That's what you're going to have to expect from him. He's
dude, we all long for Joe Flacco. The dude was on pace for 50 interceptions in a full season last year.
Unreal.
He threw a ton of interceptions. And we all long for the days of Joe Flacco. He threw a buttload of interceptions.
Yeah. Yeah. But he got that ball downfield. He sure did.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing with this offense, right? I mean, it's kind of what you have to do. You get to the top of your drop and you throw, right? And the ball is out. especially with the way this offensive line is playing this year, whether it's going to be a pick or it's the right read, you get to the top of your drop and let the ball go, and good things could happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of been the story of Jameis's career, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing as Flacco. It's either going to be like the worst pick six you've ever seen in your life, but then it's going to be like a 70-yard dime down the sideline. So yeah, I mean, even if the Browns don't win as much, as many games as we hope with Jameis in it, it's at least going to be fun to watch going forward.
And Pat Shea asked this question in the comments: can the O-line improve?
No.
I'm going to tell you what. The Browns lead the league in sacks allowed, and I think that's 50% offensive line. The offensive line's not been good. I think it's 50% offensive line, 50% Deshaun Watson.
Statistically, they will improve. Actually, they will not. I don't think right. We don't have the right personnel out there.
I think that's fair.
You don't have.
Yeah.
tackle on this team.
Is the O-line problem the scheme, or is it the coach? Because it's got to be something. It's the same offensive line as last year. It's the same offensive line that won games with PJ Walker,
No,
Joe
I'm
Flacco.
with you, Mike.
no, it's the injuries and it's the quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Joe Flacco dropped back and threw the ball.
Right.
The Browns
and
couldn't
that's-
run the ball last year. The Browns weren't a good running team last year.
Right. And that's what I'm thinking, because there were injuries all over the offensive line last year, too.
It is the offensive line is fine, in my opinion.
Right.
They're not great. They're not a top-end offensive line.
Sure.
But right now, the Cleveland Browns are just a fine offensive line. You are going to see what happens when a dude gets rid of the football.
Right.
You're going to find out.
Yes, 100%.
And that opens up your run game a little more.
And I got to tell you, when Deshaun was in, he also looked like the slowest quarterback on. Like when they put DTR in after Deshaun got hurt and DTR took off running, I was like, it looked like the Flash racing me, is what that looked like. Deshaun is not
hard.
fast. Deshaun's not fast. Deshaun is not fast anymore. Deshaun doesn't make quick decisions. It's a really bad combination.
Right.
So
Right.
Jameis is going to make those decisions. Now, is it going to result in some really ugly plays? Yes. It's going to happen. We know that with Jameis. But you know what? After what I've watched for 7 weeks of this season, it hasn't been ugly plays. It's been no plays. It's been non-existent plays. Playless. I would rather have a couple big plays here and there, and I'll take the ugly plays in between than what we have watched. And yes, Mr. B. Seif, we're not hyping up Winston. We're hyping up the way the offense is going to look with a quarterback that understands how to get rid of the football.
Be safe.
It'll be completely different.
Be safe. I guarantee you we're going to look like a real offense on Sunday.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I'm not hyping up Winston. I have no expectation. Just like I had no expectations of Joe Flacco last year.
Yeah.
I have no expectations of Winston this year.
By no means am I saying we're going to reel off 10 wins in a row or anything
Hell
like
no.
that. No. But we're at least going to be more fun to watch than, the first 7 games with Winston.
That's it. All right, boys, real quick. Browns, Ravens this weekend in Cleveland on Sunday. Browns are 1-6. The Ravens just came off. Well, the Ravens came off what was an ass kicking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers until the end of that game, where they just inexplicably just let the Buccaneers back into that game. How do we think this one's going to go? Jameis in as a starter. Nick Chubb probably get a little bit more of a carry load. The team's pretty healthy outside of like Wyatt Teller and whatever. But like there's a pretty healthy situation happening in Cleveland. How do we think it's going to look?
Yeah, Browns still get absolutely slacked in this one. But excited for Jameis. Give me 35. 21.
Hey, let's go.
Let's break that 20 threshold this week.
Yeah. Ravens all year, terrific against the run, allowing the fewest rushing yards in the league right now, but they've been pretty susceptible in the pass game. So I think we're looking at like a 38-21 Ravens win.
I like to amend. I want to do 35-20.
Okay. All right.
Hopkins
is unreliable, missing extra points this year.
Yeah.
I get it.
I think it's going to be closer than people think. And there's one area that really concerns me, and I talk about it all the time, and I'm sorry to be redundant about it, but there's one area that concerns me, and the area that concerns me defensively is that you cannot be kind of irresponsible in your gap maintenance in the pass rush against the Ravens. Like when you pass rush Lamar Jackson, and I know Lamar is a much better passer than people give him credit for, but when you keep Lamar in the pocket and then you pressure him and you don't give him anywhere to escape, that's how you beat the Ravens. That's how you beat the Ravens. He can still make throws from the pocket. I'm not saying he can't. But when you have, like, let's say you have Myles Garrett come around the edge and he goes upfield to try to get around the offensive tackle, and it gives Lamar Jackson just a hole to run through, and all of a sudden he is scrambling out and he finds a guy 35 yards down the field, that's how Baltimore beats you every time. Because Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are the two best quarterbacks in the league at making those throws while they're scrambling. So I hope for good like gap integrity and a just a sound pass rush from the Browns. And I think we keep it within a score. I'm going to say 31-24. I think the Ravens win. But I think this is a closer game than people think, because I think the Browns are going to come out with something different. And I also think there's a chance the Browns come out angry as fuck.
That's another aspect we didn't talk about with this whole players against the fans thing, because if they come out and they lay an egg and they look like shit, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, you can't come out and critique the fans and look bad.
Yeah, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Let's
get off the Browns, because shit sandwich. We're already going. Like, it's already 10:21. Like, God, Jesus Christ, boys. I got two things I want to hit on before we get out of here, but we can't. In the middle of the sandwich, if we're doing the shit sandwich, we have to do our asshole of the week. We got to do our asshole of the week, right? Because it belongs right here in the middle of the sandwich. So let's do the middle of the sandwich. Let's do our asshole of the week. And Chad, why don't you lead us off?
Oh, shit. You guys go. Hold on. I got to think of one.
I'll lead us off. My asshole of the week is the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, there you go.
Easy.
Here's why. It's because the Cleveland Browns ended the Cleveland Guardians season.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yep.
It's because when the Guardians beat Tarek Skubal last Saturday to advance to the ALCS, the Cleveland Browns, their social media people tweeted guards and like a bunch of exclamation points. And I got to tell you, everybody on Twitter was like, stay the fuck out of this. Like, get the fuck away. Leave us alone. And after a with the Guardians, it was a 161 game season. And after an awesome victory in the ALDS, from the time the Browns tweeted about the Guardians until the Guardians were out of the playoffs was 7 days. It took the goddamn Browns 7 days to ruin the Cleveland Guardians season.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty
so
quick.
They are my asshole of the week.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. Bad juju. I'm going to give my asshole. There was a certain Cleveland radio station I was listening to this weekend. Won't name it, but they were talking about how, or one of the people on it was talking about how if he was Stephen Vogt and it was the ninth inning and there was a hold or save situation, he would not put in Class A.
So
and this discussion is so stupid. So stupid. Now, the ideal scenario where Class A would have been in the series, minus the hold or save situation, is if we have a lead and it's like the seventh inning and you put him in for 2 innings, get him to the end of the game.
How many times did that happen? How many times
Zero.
did that happen?
Zero.
How many times did the Guardians enter the 9th inning with the lead in that series?
Zero.
This many times.
No times. He was put in at the right time every time in this game. Regardless of the previous night's performance, you have to go with your ace. You have to go with the second place of the Cy Young American League Award winner. It's just you can't go any other way. He's your
100%.
guy. You have to ride or die with him. There's nobody better in that bullpen. And we've seen everybody get hammered by the Yankees in this series. Clase was always your best option at those times. Hunter Gaddis pitched pretty well, but that's your guy.
100%. All right, Chad, what's your asshole of the week?
Oh God, I don't really have one. I'll just reach. I'll reach here. This whole Braun situation and them hugging the Griffies. I mean, at least Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr. were good. It's not the same with LeBron and Bronny. All right, there we go. I was leaving it at that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I like it.
We're going to turn the last two topics into quick hitters, as we don't want to keep you too terrible long here tonight. But we'd be remiss, man. We cover all Cleveland sports. We cover Columbus sports. And we'd be remiss if we didn't at least spend a few minutes on the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers are back.
Yeah, let's go.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that was beaten by the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference semifinals last year, are back. And largely it's the same team.
Yeah.
The same team as they rolled in with last year. They do have their first round draft pick for this year. So there will be another player that gets a little playing time. Max Strus is feared to miss 6 weeks to start the year. That's fine.
Right.
Time, miss it early.
Basketball doesn't start for me till February anyway. So,
but let's just give a couple predictions for this Cavaliers season, because I think so much time is spent focusing on the players on the court. But here was the Cavaliers offense. They gave extensions to several players, including Donovan Mitchell, including Jared Allen, including Isaac Okoro. Darius Garland is extended, and Evan Mobley was extended.
right.
And like their core group of guys is extended. I think the biggest move, in my opinion, guys, and I will say football and basketball are the teams where I think the coaches can make the most immediate, quick impact, although we might talk hockey in a minute. They bring in a new coach in Kenny Atkinson. They get rid of JB Bickerstaff, and the focus of this team turns much more heavily onto how do we get the most out of these guys offensively. And that is the way the modern NBA works. And I think you can talk about they didn't bring in some other players. They didn't blow everything up, whatever, but they brought in a new philosophy that they didn't have before. And I got to tell you, boys, I am so excited for the Cavs this year. I think they are real contenders to win an NBA title this year. 100%.
So you said last year.
Yeah, I did.
But we found out things about the team last year. We found out things about, like, I'm a not the biggest Cavs fan. I love the Cavs. I'll watch them when I can. But throughout the playoffs last year, the team offensively was lost the entire time.
Yes.
It's like there was no flow, no motion, no plays being run in the offensive side of the zone. And they played decent defense, which is great. But they didn't throw anything the entire playoffs that would surprise the other team. Like there was no, like, I don't know. There's just no movement. Like as a not the biggest basketball fan, like looking on, it's like, well, they're just inbounding the ball. Like it just gets past the half court line. They pass it once and they shoot. Like that was the play.
100%.
And you have the talent. Like these guys are great players. All of them are. But it's like, I can't put water in a Lamborghini and expect it to run.
Whoa.
Hey.
You just
need
Colin
the gas.
Howarded the shit out of that thing.
Hey,
Yes. That's it.
Chad?
Huh?
I
I just hope the offense runs through Evan Mobley a lot more this year. And I think it's going to. I mean, I think Kenny Atkinson is not a dumb coach by any means. I think he knows the strengths of this team, and I think he knows where the bread can be buttered on this team. And I think if they can, I think if they can do that, kind of focus their attention on that more, and you kind of already saw it in the preseason with Evan and his abilities and his development already with Kenny Atkinson. Did you see him drive the ball? Just drive into the hole. He looked like a different player. So hopefully that just carries over into the season. And I mean, obviously, even without Kenny Atkinson, this is a playoff team. So it's really going to come down to how what Kenny can turn Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. I mean, even some of the guys underneath them as well. What they can turn them into, and how he develops this offense. I think it's the Cavaliers are already a good defensive team. It's really a matter of, can they get that offense together?
Yeah, I don't think they needed to make a bunch of moves. I think when you look at this team and you look at this roster, you go, okay, I see where this is good. I see where this is good. I see where this is good. And to have a man, I just feel very confident in Kenny Atkinson and his ability to unlock what was previously unlocked, or what was previously locked, excuse me. And I see a lot of people coming out and saying things. I think this team is going to push mid 50s to 60 wins. And I think this team is going to push probably the 2 seed in the East. Like, I think you're going to have Boston up there, because you can't say that you're not, because they're the defending champs. I think you're going to have Boston up there. I think, we'll see about New York. A lot is being made about the trade that they made. Shipping off Julius Randle and bringing in Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know that really dramatically changes the New York Knicks, to be honest. But we'll see how that goes. But I think the Cavaliers are that next team, and they're going to have to fight and battle. But I think having the coach that is going to unlock those guys is a big deal. So I'm really excited for the Cavaliers. They start tomorrow. Make sure you tune into all of our socials, because Chad's doing his Blue Jackets recaps, and they are awesome. I got my first drink at Cavs recap tomorrow. I'm starting that back up, but I just can't wait. It's just one of my favorite times of the year, boys. And it's been great having the Guardians join the fun for as long as they have. And we got football, and we got college football. And Chad, I'm gonna let us take just a few minutes, boys, the three of us, to talk about the other sport that we follow incredibly closely, and that is hockey, and that's the Columbus Blue Jackets. And man, oh man.
Yeah.
I hope we don't have to play Minnesota again for a long time, because that's a team that seems to have the number of the Jackets. But otherwise, woof. These Columbus Blue Jackets are out here 3-3 on the season. 2 of the losses are to Minnesota. So 3-1 against everybody that's not Minnesota. These Jackets are playing hard as fuck.
Yeah.
They are awesome.
Yeah, you see the Dean Evison effect already. I mean, you see the old school coach, the discipline coach, the structure coach, the discipline coach, the effect that he has on his team already. This team is playing like a well-oiled machine. They play together. They play for each other, and you're getting contributions from all 4 lines. It's not just your top 6 anymore that you have to worry about. You have depth now. It's guys like Zach Aston Reese. Guys like Jack Johnson, JVR, James Van Riemsdyk, older guy, but he still has a lot left in the tank. Opens the scoring tonight for the Jackets. And Mike, Joey, Mike. 3 games, we're 6 games into the season, and this is already the 3rd game that the Jackets have scored 6 goals or more. And this is also, you guys, you're muted, Mike.
Yes,
there you are.
What an idiot.
And this is also the 3rd game the Jackets have scored 6 goals or more that they haven't let teams back into the game, right? That they've been able to shut teams down and been able to close out games, something you haven't been able to say for the last 3 or 4 years. This is a team, again, it's not a Stanley Cup contender by any means, by any way, shape, or form, but it's a pesky team, and they're going to be tough to beat on a night in and night out basis, and I'm excited to watch the rest of the season.
How good of a pickup was Jack Johnson, by the way?
Yeah, great. I mean, great.
Like solid veteran defender. Like,
yeah. Yeah, veteran defender, guy who's been in a Stanley Cup championship locker room.
Yeah.
He knows how to deal with rookies, how to deal with young guys, how to deal with vets. He knows the deal that goes in the locker room. He just knows how to keep things light. He knows how to keep things serious. He knows how to hold people accountable. And it's just the mix of veterans that they have this year compared to the young guys is way better than it's been the last few years.
I just also think I think you just get the effect of Don Waddell, who is a guy that's just been around for a long time. And we loved Yarmo on this podcast. We loved Yarmo. But you bring in Don Waddell, and then he brings in Dean Evison. And if Yarmo has the kryptonite on him, it's the fact that he trusted a little too much in guys that were unproven with a team that, especially last year, that team could have made a little bit of noise last year.
Sure.
But when you put in, I no disrespect to Pascal Vincent, but when you put in Pascal Vincent and it's his first job, the toughness wasn't there, the discipline wasn't there, and you can't fault Pascal Vincent. He's trying to figure life out on his own. But man, when Don Waddell comes in and he just installs Dean Evison, and it's like, all right, we got this veteran ass general manager implementing a veteran coach who is ready to implement things. And this veteran coach is not afraid to just put in his system. And he doesn't, if you want to fight him about it, we'll fight about it. And we're not afraid what everybody's going to say. It just instills a different level in this team. And you can see it right from the start of this season.
Right. No, I mean, I completely agree. Again, it's just like I talked about. Yeah, I mean, you see the effect of it now. This team is completely just night and day from what it was. And again, yeah, between the veterans that Don has signed, the smart signings that Don has made, to the structure and discipline that Dean Evison has brought, because the best years of this organization has been under coaches with structure and discipline. And it's what they see. You know, guys aren't making terrible turnovers anymore. Goaltending has been solid. I mean, Daniil Tarasov, again, he's the last two games, he's looked like the guy that he was last year, because we saw flashes of this guy last year that he could possibly be the guy. He's shown that the last two games. So and if the defense is able, the blue line is able to shut down teams like they've been. Yeah, I don't know. It's way too early to make any sort of predictions. But if they keep playing the way they do, I don't see any reason they couldn't contend for a wild card spot. Again, way too early. I'm not going to say that they're going to, but if they keep playing like this, it's very much in the realm, because this is right now the Jackets are playing like a team that is going to the playoffs.
Real quickly before we get out of here, last quick hitter. It was another wild weekend in college football, and I don't want to go too crazy with it, but Alabama losing,
right,
and Michigan losing to Illinois. Not that was such a surprise, but a little bit of a surprise seeing that. Things are winding up. That Georgia-Texas game was wild. Because Georgia jumped out to a crazy lead, and then Texas started coming back, and Texas benches Quinn Ewers, and then for Arch Manning, and then they bench Arch Manning and bring Quinn Ewers back into the game. Just another wild weekend of college football, boys. This college football season, I think, again, everybody thought that if you expanded the playoffs, it was going to do something negative to the regular season, and I think the exact opposite has happened.
The exact
opposite has happened. And now there's so many teams vying for these 12 spots that it is a madhouse. This is one of my favorite college football regular seasons of all time.
Yeah.
Already.
The game of the week, guys, and nobody's talking about it, was number 9 Iowa State and UCF.
Mhm.
That was incredible.
Iowa State had to escape that game
Had to escape that. I had no idea Iowa State was number 9.
because
right?
UCF doesn't know how to carry a ball into the end zone.
Yeah, I had no idea Iowa State was number 9, but guess what? I've got to pay attention to that now because 12 teams make the playoff.
Yeah.
So you've got to pay attention to that game now. Oh man, what a weekend, and I can't wait for more. I cannot wait for more.
Well, I got to tell you, boys, like just a couple quick things because we talk a lot of Ohio State football. You come back against Nebraska. Ohio State should dominate Nebraska the way they've played. You thought Nebraska was going to be kind of decent this year. No, they are not. They stink. Ohio State should dominate them. But what's the most formidable game left on the Ohio State schedule this year?
Indiana.
Michigan. It's
Right.
not Nebraska.
Right.
It's Indiana.
I know.
What the fuck is going on in
Who's going to have a
Bloomington?
better record than Ohio State when they play?
Dude,
Yeah.
Indiana beat Nebraska, 56-7 this
Right.
weekend?
Right.
They are undefeated, and
Right.
they are dominating teams. Like, I don't know. Like, I know everybody's going to be like, yeah, but what? Just Indiana? Nope. That Ohio State Buckeyes team better be ready to go against Indiana in that
Yeah.
game.
And Indiana has played the Buckeyes tough in the past, but this is a very, very different animal in an Indiana team, man. They just, like you said, they've been dominating teams, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't watched them yet to really kind of to be able to talk logically about them. But the way they've been playing this year, it's gonna be it's gonna be a good game. It really is.
Well, look at Pat Shea asking if we're talking Big Ten, what about Penn State? Listen, the last time we saw Penn State, they were getting their doors blown off by USC, I'm sorry. And then Penn State just made this incredible comeback to beat USC. USC has turned into a nightmare of a program.
Right.
But right now, the number 3 seed in the whole entire country is Penn State. I got to tell you, though, I don't know. Maybe I'm off base. But I'm more worried about Indiana than I am about Penn State.
No, I think so too, because again, Indiana, this is unfamiliar territory for Indiana. And I mean, by the time they get to Ohio State, it's going to be the biggest game of their season. And it's going to be their first measuring stick, right? Because if you look at Indiana's schedule, right, it was Florida International, Western Illinois, UCLA, UNC Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska. They're home to Washington this week, at Michigan State, home to Michigan, and then they go to Ohio State. So it's really going to be the second to last game of the Indiana season is going to be their actual measuring stick, because a lot of those teams are down this year. I mean, look at Michigan. Michigan is a complete mess this
terrible.
year, a complete mess. At Michigan, Michigan State is decent. Washington is decent, but they're no better than a Nebraska. So,
No.
you got to think Indiana is going to come into that game, 10-0, 11-0, or whatever it is, to that Ohio State game. They're feeling good about themselves, feeling confident, as they should. So, it's going to be a new, different territory for Indiana football.
I will say this, boys. Joe, if Ryan Day loses to Michigan this year, bye.
Yeah, good later.
This year, you got go. The little streak to Michigan. It has to end this year.
Order
will be restored this year.
Oh, it's got. I mean, I'm not really worried about it. Michigan's so bad, but
I would be really worried if they lose to them, though.
Yeah, but how many? Like all of a sudden they lose to Michigan this year. We're talking about the John Cooper years,
right?
We're talking about those years where Ohio State ran through everybody, and Michigan came in with 2 losses, and you're like, cool, Ohio State's going to run through Michigan, and then you lose.
Right.
Right. It can happen.
Right.
It can happen.
Trap game.
Otherwise, that Georgia Alabama, or I'm sorry, that Georgia Texas game was great. So much movement, so many storylines there, but Georgia kind of reestablishes themselves. How about Joe? Alabama can't find a win in your home state of Tennessee. Can't find a win.
Yeah.
There's no wins in Tennessee for Alabama.
And Alabama has 2 losses left on their schedule.
They lose to Vanderbilt, and they follow it up with a loss to Tennessee.
It's tough.
You know what? What's really tough? Vanderbilt was able to walk the goalposts all the way down Broadway and throw them in the river. The people of Tennessee didn't let the Tennessee fans take the goalposts.
Well, because they just paid that fine last year, wasn't it?
Sad.
Yeah.
Sad Panda.
That's weak.
And with I do have to say this, with the Texas loss to Georgia, I do have to say it, the number 1 overall team in the SEC is the Texas A&M Aggies. So just going to drink to that for a minute.
Yeah. But no, Bama, I mean, think about it. How crazy is that, right? Alabama, again, they have 2 losses left on their schedule. They are home to Missouri this week, and then they're at LSU next week.
I don't know if Missouri's a loss.
Well, I mean, it could be. It very well. It's not a win. It's not a guaranteed win like in years past. How could isn't that crazy to think though? Too the first year this expands to 12 teams, Alabama could be out.
Yeah, they might not even make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got to tell you, and again, I'm a homer for my Texas A&M Aggies because I'm a graduate from there. But like, the game of the week this week is Texas A&M and LSU. Like, that's going to be wild.
Sure.
That's going to be a slugfest.
What do you mean, number 5 Texas at Vanderbilt? At number 25 Vanderbilt?
Hey, listen, Vandy could get another win.
I know.
Vandy. Don't sleep on Vandy.
College football is great. I think it's one of the most enjoyable regular seasons of all time, and that flies in the face of everybody that was like, you can't expand because it'll ruin the regular season. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't at all.
It's made it better. It's made the expansion to 12 teams has made the regular season better because so many more teams have hope. And that is a way better situation than what we've dealt with in the past. So, all right, let's get out of here. We're already way past our normal time. But we've talked about a lot of stuff. We've talked Guardians and their run. We've talked about the Browns and their bullshit. We've talked about the Cavs and the Blue Jackets and college football. And we're going to end things with our cheers of the week, where we just we cheers people. We cheers somebody that deserves a little credit, a little whatever you want to call it. I'm going to give it our cheers of the week. You know what? I'm going to go first. And I hate to do this, boys, but I feel like I have to. I'm not going to go into all the details, but I'm going to cheers Arnold Palmer's family because of everything that went down with a certain presidential candidate who decided to talk about Arnold Palmer's wiener all week. And then Arnold Palmer's family had a great rebuttal. And I'm not going to go into all of it because it's political, but it was spectacular. And if you didn't see it, just look up Arnold Palmer and a certain orange human and look up the family's response. And it's really, really funny. So I don't want to go all political. I'm not going to do it, but I do think that's my cheer of the week because that's freaking hilarious. Who wants to go next?
I'm going to cheers FIU. FIU came out with this Miami Vice themed uniforms tonight and the field, and it was pretty sick. I love that. I'm not usually a huge fan of alternative uniforms, but that was sick.
All right, FIU getting a little love on the podcast. Joe, finish this off.
I got 3 Guardians games / Indians games ingrained into my brain. Game 2 of the LDS, watching the what are they called? The Midges. Watching the Midges swarm Robert Chamberlain, Travis Halfton with a single to score, Kenny Lofton in the bottom of the 11th. 1. 2. I don't remember the year. Frankie Lindor.
2017.
Hitting the grand slam on the foul pole. Bam. Right there at the foul pole. Incredible.
You were standing at the foul pole.
I was touching the foul pole. I felt the bing. I knew that bitch was gone. Game 3 this Friday, game 4 of the ALCS. I can't overstate how incredible games 3 through 5 were. Like, of any baseball games and stretch of games that I've seen in my life, like those were some of the most entertaining times. But seeing that we were touching a pole. It was a big one too.
Oh God,
but,
Serge. Oh God.
Just the back and forth of game 4.
Jesus Christ.
And just the ups of that game, some downs for sure. But cheers to Bandito for being there for it all. It's a good time. So my cheers goes to Bandito. Guardians, bud.
And that game, unbelievable. Noel with the home, and that Noel home run was so awesome. And then David Fry walking it off, that was amazing. So
that was game 3, but game 4, we lost.
Oh, game 4, the game you went to, also a great game. Lots of back and forth.
Yeah,
but great crowd, great time. That was awesome. All right.
That Lindor home one is the loudest decibel rating in a major league stadium since they've recorded that.
Although I got to say, you might want to test the John Kenzie Noel home run because that's got to be close.
That's got to be up there.
Got to be close. All right, we're going to get out of here with episode 235 of the podcast. Lots of great stuff coming up. We'll have more great guests coming up as we continue to talk Guardians and their off season and the Browns and whatever the hell they're doing, and the Cavs season getting underway, and the Blue Jackets in their new season. We'll get more Blue Jackets guests on and more Cavs guests on. We'll talk about more of that. Hey, listen, I got to throw this out there, Chad. I'm sorry I got to do this, but if you're a football fanatic,
with
me and WEOL this week, because we've got just one of the best games, Aurora and Highland. You don't want to miss it. I'm throwing it out on the podcast because
let's go.
It's going to be amazing. But yeah, just so many good things going on, and hopefully the Browns can kind of get back into the good things movement. I think they might be able to have a chance. I don't know about a win, but kind of good things this weekend. But again, stay tuned for Chad doing the CBJ recaps. I'll do the Cavs recaps. We're going to have a lot of fun with that through those seasons. But that's really going to do it for us for episode 235. Make sure you are subscribed to the OBR at theobr.com and all of the social media networks. And make sure you are subscribed to the Garage Beers podcast at The Garage Beers on all of the socials. Again, episode 235 in the books. For Joey Whalen down in Nashville, Tennessee at Garage Beers Joe. For Chad Meyer over on the east side of Cleveland at Garage Beers Chad. I am Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. Go follow the show at The Garage Beers on all the socials. And until next week, cheers, everybody.